body chasing the truth.
This is part 3 of exposing Joe Rogan for being jealous of Brendan Schaub.
To themselves so they can feel like something. But as soon as you don't give it to them, it's it. Brendan Schaub. He gave his opinion on Dana. They ate his ass alive like piranhas.
It's so dumb. I didn't talk to him about that, but first of all, he's wrong.
Yeah, he's
wrong about the theory. Look, Brendan's my boy, but he needs a handler. Yeah. He needs someone like me around him all the time. What are you gonna do? No. Here's why, and he'll go.
When somebody says you need a handler, that's because they think you're an idiot. And Joe Rogan claims to be Brendan Schaub's friend. And once again, on his show in front of millions of people, he's putting the narrative out there that he thinks Schaub's a complete moron and needs a handler. And nothing that Schaub said about Dana White wasn't true. Francis Ngannou went on the Joe Rogan show and said that Dana White wanted to pay him 25 cents for every pay-per-view that he sold. Out of all the revenue that comes into the UFC, the fighters only get 8%, and their health benefits are absolutely horrible if they even have any. So what part of what Schaub said wasn't true, Rogan, other than you didn't agree and you didn't like it? But he needs you, right, Rogan? You're going to rescue him.
I get where you coming from with Brendan, and then it's like I don't understand why our community, they hate him in a way. Like I don't know the percentage, but he gets a lot of shit.
So
the biggest reason why so many people hate Brendan Schaub is because of Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has a huge audience, and the majority of that audience watches UFC. Joe Rogan continuously spreads the narrative that Brendan Schaub isn't good at anything, that he's a moron, that he's an idiot. He just dismisses him every time he's on the show. He never has anything positive to say about Schaub whatsoever. And then he hides behind, well, I love you, bro, and I was just looking out for you. And, he comes up with or the best one is that he was just joking. Well, the entire planet that watches Rogan doesn't think that you're joking about Schaub. So what happens to Brendan Schaub? All of Joe Rogan's followers and his little minions, they all hate Schaub. Everybody in the UFC hates Schaub because of Joe Rogan. In the UFC community, that is, fans, majority of it, I mean, is fans. They hate Schaub because of the comments that Rogan makes. Rogan, you claim to be Schaub's friend. If you really felt that he needed a handler, don't you think you could have went out to dinner with him and told him that off the air? All these things, how you wanted Schaub to stop fighting. Don't you think you could have did that off the air somewhere alone if you were really his true friend? But you're not. You're jealous of Brendan Schaub. He's a two-sport athlete. He's ranked number 10 in the world as a heavyweight in the UFC, the biggest organization in the world. He played college football at Division I, and now he's doing stand-up for a living, and he's moving more and more into your field, and he's a threat to you, and every time you open your mouth about Schaub, you show how insecure you are around him.
Brendan needs a handler. Do I? Or does your boy need a handler? I'm not the one playing grab ass with Mark Zuckerberg, letting him rent out Thick Boy Studios, shutting it down for his entertainment. Don't call him Zuck on your fucking social media either. You don't know the guy. Oh my God, Mark Zuckerberg's into jiu-jitsu, man. This is crazy. Yes. And the fighters are just fucking CT up the fucking gills, bleeding, getting fucking Starbucks employees have more benefits. And Mark Zuckerberg's like, yes, kill. She's like, they're actually hitting each other? And then Mark Zuckerberg like, yes, babe, they're hitting each other. Some of them will die. She's like, they're gonna die? He's like, hopefully, if it's up to me, they will die. I don't need a handler. These guys need a handler. Somebody should have gotten the ear of Dana and Mark Zuckerberg. Like, hey, you two rich, privileged fucks. Come over here. Let me tell you something. Somebody should have done this at UFC Institute. Hey, you two rich, privileged fucks. Come here. Let me talk to you. Again, I need a handler. They need a handler.
What?
Welcome to 2024, where anybody that tells the truth, whether it's against an establishment or a position of power, and Brendan is absolutely telling the truth, he needs a handler. He's angry. He needs therapy. He's creating a hostile environment, right? That's 2024, where the most hated thing on the planet is somebody else telling the truth. And all of Rogan's fan base who just sniff Joe Rogan's underwear and don't look at the facts and that, they're leaving me all these nasty messages. Every single word that Brendan Schaub said in this video and other videos is absolutely the truth. All the revenue that comes in the UFC, only 8% of it goes to the fighters. He's making billions, trillions of dollars, Dana White. The fighters have no health care whatsoever. So what did Schaub say that was wrong? Again, you have UFC fighters that go to bare knuckle fighting, that fight in Masvidal's promotion, that are getting checks for $500,000, $600,000. Where if in the UFC, you would literally have to have 23 fights and be at one of the biggest names ever to get that kind of money. Dana White is a complete scum, you know what. Brendan Schaub is calling him out on it. Brendan Schaub is absolutely right. And Joe Rogan shows his true colors once again. He airs out Schaub over the airwaves and on his show, his so-called friend, right? I love you, I love you, Brandon, right? But every time you talk, I'm going to mock you and get my whole fan base to hate you. And the majority of that fan base watches UFC, so the majority of the UFC fan base is going to hate you. Oh, and by the way, you want to get into comedy? You want to come into my field? I'm going to make sure that carries over into that field also. So anytime you do a piece of work, Schaub, in the comedy realm, I'm going to make sure everybody goes on these reviews and leaves 1 stars and say how terrible it was. Look, I seen Gringo Poppy. I've never watched any of Schaub's comedic performances before. I give it a C+ to a B-. I've said this over and over. I seen Artie Lang in his so-called prime when he was tearing up the town. He was the #1 comic. It was like watching paint dry, getting a root canal with no Novocaine for 3 hours. It was absolutely atrocious. All you heard was he was so heavy. All you heard was his breathing in the microphone. None of the jokes were funny. Gringo Poppy was 1,000,000 times better than that. So I don't want to hear it. For anybody to say that Brendan Schaub's comedy is completely sucks or it's the worst thing ever, you're just lying, and you need to get your own opinions and stop being brainwashed by Joe Rogan, the fake friend to Brendan Schaub, who deeply resents Schaub and is jealous